Sairam students, welcome to the second session of chapter 11, that is cell structure and microorganisms. So before starting today's session children, let's revise what we had learnt in the first session. So children, we had seen what is a cell. The definition of cell is the fundamental, structural and functional unit of all the living organisms, and cell is the important component of all living organisms, right? So whatever daily activities or the life processes we carry out, that is all because of the cell. So children, we had also seen about the organization level in the organisms, right? So the first component was the cell, then tissues, and then organs, then organ system, and the body or the organism, right? So this was the organization level. Then children, we saw that the scientist Robert Hooke, he was the first scientist who observed, who discovered this cell, right? So how did he discover? He observed a thin section of the cork under the microscope, and when he observed under the microscope, he saw small hexagonal compartments like that of a beehive. So he named these as cells. So this cell, it has come from the Latin word cella, which means room, small room, right? So after that, two more scientists, M.J. Sladen and Theodore, they formulated a theory on this cells, that all the living organisms, they are made up of cells, right? So after that children, one more scientist named as Rudolf Virchow, he made a statement that these cells, they are pre-existing, right? Then we saw children about the compound microscope. So the scientist's name was Anton van Leeuwenhoek, who assembled various lenses and he formed a compound microscope. So he was the first person to observe the live bacterial and protozoan cells under the compound microscope. Then children, I told you that there are two types of microscope, as simple microscope and compound microscope. So simple microscope, it has got only one lens, and compound microscope, it has got two lenses, that is the objective lens and the ocular lens. So by the simple microscope, it is nothing but it's a magnifying lens or magnifying glass, right, with which you can just see smaller objects in bigger size, right? But if you want to see the cells, you will require a compound microscope, because the cells, their measuring units are in nanometer and micrometer, which we cannot see it by the naked eye. So we will require a compound microscope for observing these cells, right? So children, then we saw the onion cell under a microscope, right? The thin filament or a membrane of the onion was taken and it was kept on a glass slide with a drop of water, so that the thin membrane, it does not fold, right? Then a drop of iodine solution or erosin was put on it, and then we observe the cells under the microscope. So like this, we can observe different types of cells, right? The plant cell, then the bark of a tree, all these things we can observe under the cells. Now every microscope, it has got some power, right? The lens has got some power. Then only we can observe different cells, right? So then children, we saw about that about the cell size, right? So the cell size also, it depends, the cell size are different, it means it varies, the shape of the cell varies. So we saw that it was the cells are columnar in shape, rod shape, circular shape, right, etc. Then children, we saw that there are various components in the cells, right, and these are called as organelles, and these organelles, if we want to study, so we have to study it with the help of the microscope. So now children, today we will see about the further information, right? So actually there are two main types of cells. There is a plant cell and animal cell, right? Now we'll just have a look at the diagram of the plant cell and animal cell. So you can see here, children, the plant cell and the animal cell, right, which is seen under an electron microscope. So you can see, children, this is your plant cell and this is your animal cell, right? Now if you can clearly see this green color part which is there, this is called as the cell wall, right? So the plant cell only contains the cell wall. If you can see the animal cell, it does not contain a cell wall. So the outermost covering of the plant cell is the cell wall, which is absent in the animal cell. Now for animal cell, the outermost covering is your cell membrane, right? So this is your outermost covering of animal cell, which is called as the cell membrane, right? Now you all know, children, that the plants, they contain chloroplast, and with the help of the chloroplast it can perform the process of photosynthesis. So it is present only in the plant cell. In the animal cell, this chloroplast is absent, right? Also, children, there is a this liquid fluid which you can see in the plant cell, that is called as the cytoplasm, right? Now there are various cell organelles. Now various cell organelles are your mitochondria, vacuoles, endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus, Golgi body, lysosome, free ribosomes. So all these are the cell organelles which are present in both the animal cell as well as the plant cell. So they carry out different functions, right, children? So we will be seeing in detail what are their functions, right? So I hope you have got a somewhat a idea of what is the plant cell and what is the animal cell, right, children? So now let's look into detail. Now the cell, it consists of various types of membrane bound cell organelles, right? So as I told you, there are various types of cell organelles present in the cells, right? Now plant cells, they have got a definite shape because of the presence of the cell wall around them. As I told you, only plant cells have a cell wall, animal cells do not have. So because the plants, they have got a definite shape. Why they have got a definite shape? Because the cell wall is present inside them. Unlike animal cells, plant cells contain a single large vacuole. Now vacuole, it is present in both animal cell as well as plant cell. But in animal cell, the vacuole is small, whereas in plant cells, the vacuole is large. All these cells are known as eukaryotic cells. So whatever cells are present in the animal cell and in the plant cell, they are called as eukaryotic cells. Now what are eukaryotic cells, children? Now as I showed you, that there is a nucleus present in both animal cell and plant cell. So wherever the nucleus is present, that means it is a eukaryotic cell. So your plant cell and animal cells are called as eukaryotic cells because it contains a nucleus, right, children? So as I told you, the plant cells, they have, because of the cell wall is present at the outer covering, the plant cells, they have got a definite shape. And both plant cell and animal cell, they have various membrane bound cell organelles. As I told you, the cell organelles are mitochondria, lysosome, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum, right? So these are the cell organelles. Also they contain vacuoles also, but this vacuole, it is small vacuoles are present in the animal cell, and in the plant cell it contains only one single large vacuole. And all these cells are called as eukaryotic cells because it contains a nucleus, right? So let's see what are the parts of the cell. So there are four main parts of the cell. First is the cell wall, second is the cell membrane, third is cytoplasm, and fourth is the cell organelles. So how many parts are there? Four parts are there. First is cell wall, second is cell membrane, third is cytoplasm, and fourth is cell organelles. Now we'll see each and every part in detail, right? So first is the cell wall. So it is the outermost covering of the cell and it is present in plant cells. So the first covering, that is the outermost covering of the plant cell, is your cell wall. This cell wall, it is not present in the animal cell. Now next is plasma membrane. Now plasma membrane, it is also called as the cell membrane, right? So this cell membrane, it is a kind of thin covering and it is extremely delicate and flexible, and it is the outermost covering of the animal cell. So the outermost covering of the plant cell is the cell wall and outermost covering of the animal cell is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. So I hope students you have understood till this much. Let's move to the next part. Now what is cytoplasm? So the liquid part in the cell present around the nucleus is called as the cytoplasm. As I showed you in the diagram, the liquid part, it is surrounded around the nucleus and that is called as the cytoplasm. So it occupies the space between the plasma membrane and the nucleus, and the cell organelles, they are scattered in this cytoplasm. It means in the liquid part, the cell organelles which I told you, like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes, ribosomes, all these are scattered. Scattered means they are here and there in the cytoplasm. So what is cytoplasm? The liquid part which is present in the cell around the nucleus is called as the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm, it occupies the space between the plasma membrane and the nucleus, and the cell organelles, they are scattered in this cytoplasm. Now cell organelles. Now what are these cell organelles? So it includes nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, lysosomes, mitochondria, vacuoles, plastids, etc. So all these cell organelles are present in both animal cell as well as plant cell. And as I told you, plant cell, it contains chloroplast, right? Chloroplast is, it is helps in the preparation of photosynthesis, which is present only in the plant cell, right? Now we'll see the function of the cell organelles. What is first one is nucleus. Now nucleus, it is the important organelle of the cell, right? So there is a porous double membrane around it. Porous means anything can pass through it, right? Any air, liquid, water vapor, all these can pass through this double membrane. And what is the function of the nucleus? It controls all the functions of the cell. Next is endoplasmic reticulum. So this endoplasmic reticulum, it has a structure like a sprawling net-like organelle. Sprawling net-like organelle means it is it covers a large part of the area, right? And its function is to make the necessary changes in the proteins which is produced by the ribosomes, and then it is sent to the Golgi bodies, right? So what is the nucleus? Nucleus is the important organelle of the cell, and there is a porous double membrane around it, and the function of the nucleus is it controls all the functions of the cell. So that's the reason nucleus is very important organelle of the cell. Now what is endoplasmic reticulum? It is a sprawling net-like organelle. As I told you, sprawling means it has covered a large part of the area, and its function is to make the necessary changes in the proteins which are produced by the ribosomes, and then it is sent to the Golgi bodies. Now what are Golgi bodies? Golgi bodies, they are made up of several flat sacs. Sacs means it is a pouch-like structure it has got, and its function is proper distribution of proteins. Next is mitochondria and plastids. Now these two organelles, they are covered with a double outer covering, right? It has got a double outer covering. So Golgi bodies, they are made up of several flat sacs, and their function is proper distribution of proteins. And mitochondria and plastids, these are the organelles with a double outer covering. Next is mitochondria. It is also called as the powerhouse of the cell because it produces energy, right? Then is chloroplast. Now chloroplast, it is present in the plant cells only because it can carry out the function of photosynthesis. And what is vacuole? Vacuoles, it helps to throw out the waste product of the cell, and these vacuoles, they are small in animal cell, whereas only one large vacuole is present in the plant cell. So mitochondria, it is also called as the powerhouse of the cell because it produces energy, and chloroplast, it is present only in the plant cell because it can carry out the function of photosynthesis. And vacuoles, it helps to throw out the waste product of the cell, and the plant cell, it contains only a single large vacuole, whereas in animal cell there are small vacuoles. So these were the functions of the cell organelles. We'll see about we have finished with the cell structure, right? Now we'll see about the next part, that is the microorganisms. Now what are microorganisms? Organisms which cannot be seen with our eyes but can only be observed under a microscope are called as microorganisms. So microorganisms we cannot see by our naked eye, so we require a microscope to see these microorganisms. By the name micro only you can understand micro means small. So these are small organisms which we cannot see by the naked eye. So if the definition is asked what are microorganisms, you can write organisms which cannot be seen with our eyes but can be observed only under the microscope are called as microorganisms. Now children, microorganisms, we are going to see its occurrence, right? So microorganisms, they are present all around us, right? In the air, in the water, in the soil, in the food, sewage, garbage, bodies of plants and animals and humans, right? Sewage means whatever toilet and bathroom wastage goes, that is called as your sewage, right? Then some are solitary. Solitary means they live singly. That means these microorganisms only one microorganism will be there, right? That is the amoeba and paramoecium. And some live in colonies. Colonies means they form a group. Then some microorganisms, they live on the remains of the dead plants and animals, right? So organisms, microorganisms which are there, they are present all around us, right? Everywhere they are present, in air, water, soil, food, sewage, garbage, bodies of the plants, animals and humans. So some microorganisms, they prefer to live singly, right? Single microorganism is there, that is the amoeba and paramoecium, whereas some microorganisms, they want to live together, so that's why they live in colonies. And some microorganisms, they are present on the dead plants and animals also, right children? So children, so this was what there in today's session children. So let's recap what we have learnt in today's session. So children, in today's session we first saw about the main types of cell, that is the plant cell and the animal cell, right? So we saw the diagram also of the plant cell and animal cell, right? So what was the main difference? The plant cell, it contains an outer covering called as the cell wall. Now this cell wall, it is not present in the animal cell. So in the animal cell, the outermost covering is called as the cell membrane, or it is also called as the plasma membrane, right? Then we saw that the animal cell, it contains small vacuoles, whereas the plant cell, it contains a single large vacuole, right? Then the plant cell, it contains chloroplast, whereas in animal cell there is no chloroplast. Now chloroplast is present in the plant cell, that's the reason it can perform the process of photosynthesis, right? Then there are other cell organelles also are present in the both the cells, right? So what are those? Those are mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, vacuoles, then lysosomes, ribosomes, right? Then we saw that there are four main parts of the cell, right? So which are the four main parts? First is the cell wall, second is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, third is the cytoplasm, and fourth is the cell organelles. So we saw each and every part in detail, right? Then we saw about the cell organelles. We saw their function and what work it does. Like mitochondria, it is also called as the powerhouse of the cell because it can produce energy, right? Then vacuoles, it helps to throw the waste products of the cell, right? Then we saw that Golgi, the Golgi bodies, right? It is their function is proper distribution of proteins, and the important organelle of the cell is nucleus, right? Because it controls all the functions of the cell, and these all cell organelles are called plant cell and animal cell. They are called as eukaryotic cells because it contains a nucleus, right? So plant cell and animal cell is a eukaryotic cell, right children? Then we saw about the definition of microorganism. So what is a microorganism? The organisms which we cannot see by our naked eye and we can observe it only under the microscope, those are called as the microorganisms. And where are these microorganisms present? They are present all around us, right? Then some microorganisms, they prefer to live singly, right? And some they prefer to live in colonies, and some microorganisms, they are present on the dead plants and animals also. So I hope students you have understood today's part. So in the next session we will see some more information about the microorganisms. Till then, goodbye.